Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another episode of In Depth with David. We're a few minutes past 8 o'clock. We apologize for that. A couple of technical difficulties, but we are here. We're here to preview the Patriots versus Dolphins game that will be happening tomorrow. It's the opening game for the Patriots in the 2022 NFL season. Week 1, it's going to be fun. That rhymes. I did that intentionally. But I'm joined once again by my friend Chris here. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I am doing good. Wow, full of energy. I like it. So, how are you feeling about this game tomorrow? General thoughts. I always like to just open up these recaps with general takeaways of what you think, and then we'll get more into specifics. But when you first came in, the first thing you said to me, pretty much when we joined this call, was if I'm ready for the Pats to be destroyed tomorrow. So, if you can, just elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, I shouldn't have said it in that context about just getting destroyed. I feel like I don't know if you watched the Pats All Access when they had that segment with Zolak and Belichick. They had like they had a game plan of how to tackle the offense because they have just speed all across the board. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson, and then they have a great run game with Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. And then they have an offensive coach. They have a offensive coordinator as their head coach now. So that's pretty tough. But I saw when Belichick was going over some of the plays, he knew what they were gonna do, but I feel like when they do the execution of how to stopping it, it's gonna just fall apart. I feel like sometimes, but it's going to be an interesting game. I just hope that we can just score as many points as they can because they are going to score a lot of points.
Yeah, so Miami took both games in the season matchups last year. They won the first game 17-16. Damian Harris, that was actually week 1 of last year. Damian Harris fumbled late in that game, and that likely cost him the victory as it was a fumble right around the end zone. That was a heartbreaking one. We also faced Miami down in Miami for the final game of the season last year, and Miami got out to a big lead in that game, and they held on to it. The Patriots tried to come back late, but it was just too little too late. And in the final game of the season, Miami beat New England 33-24. Tua Tagovailoa, that's a tongue twister. Tua Tagovailoa is 3-0 in his career against the Patriots as the Miami Dolphins quarterback. He will look to go to 4-0 by this time tomorrow. I basically just said this already, but 2 rather frustrating games for New England last year against the Dolphins. It's really been just frustrations every year whenever we go down to Miami. I get it. The warm weather plays a huge impact. And, if you go down there to end the season or like really any point in the season, it's really hard to adjust to that in a matter of days. And that's absolutely no excuses because there's been so many games over the years that I've watched where New England goes down to Miami and they're clearly the better team. But for whatever it is, I don't know if it's something on the field or if it's something in the air, but New England just always struggles against Miami. Is this are we just making this is this just a pure coincidence, or is there actually, validity to this theory that the Pats struggle in Miami, Chris?
Honestly, I feel like what's been happening is that we just haven't gotten to a great start there. I feel like it's like with Sam Darnold. He sees ghosts. He always just throws like wacky balls. I just feel like we just get off to a wacky start. And in addition to that, I don't remember what year it was, but when the Miami Miracle happened, I feel like after that we just haven't been the same.
Yeah, so it's funny because the Miami Miracle was one of the best things that could have happened for the Patriots and one of the worst things that could have happened for the Dolphins because the Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl later that year, somehow, some way, last title in the Brady-Belichick era. And the Dolphins, by winning that game, got a worse draft pick. So it somehow worked out. But you're right. 2019, I remember we went down there and we absolutely destroyed Miami. That was the one game Antonio Brown was with the Pats. We beat them 43-0 down there. 2020, that was the first game against Tua, and we had a lead going into the fourth quarter of that one, but it was still such a sloppy game. And they got the best of us in the fourth quarter then. 2021, we just pooped to the bed, as they'll say. I'll keep it family friendly. And they got out to, I think, a 17-0 lead early, and they just pretty much dominated.
thought
went on.
Fitzmagic was the quarterback in 2020.
I think no, by that time. So Fitzpatrick was the guy for the first game in New England, but we
Okay.
went down to Miami that year too. It was already in.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think I agree with your point though, where you just always fall behind the eight ball early in games. Miami, it's just so hard for us to recover. And I even remember a game way back when at the end of the 2015 season where like we did was just run the ball like every single play, halfback draw in the first half of that game. It was almost like we weren't taking the Miami Dolphins seriously. And obviously they made us pay then, and they made us pay a lot of times over the years. But Miami is on a mission this year. They got a lot better this offseason. As you talked about earlier, they acquired Tyreek Hill in a trade with the Miami Dolphins, and they added left tackle Teron Armstead as a free agent this offseason. And they also got a new head coach this season, replacing Brian Flores with Mike McDaniel, who was a coordinator with the 49ers. I think Mike McDaniel honestly looks like a combination of me and you, if I'm being honest. Like, if you put us two together, we get Mike McDaniel. So that's like a doppelganger of sorts. And I don't know if you knew this, Chris, but Dolphins also have a brand new offense, just like the Patriots.
Yeah, that's right. They got someone from the Saints for the offensive line, Terrell Armstead for, is it the left side or right side?
Left tackle.
Left tackle. Okay, yeah. So they got him. I don't remember if they drafted one or two linemen because I know they had like not a historically bad offensive line, but it was like really bad. I'm trying to remember that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because with the new Miami offense, unlike with the Patriots' new offensive scheme with which everyone knows what the scheme is, zone runs, outside runs. Miami hasn't really disclosed what this new offense is. I did a little film work earlier, and it looks like a lot of their new offenses heavily relied on play action, and with that play action, looking for the deep pass. But they also have plays where it's a lot of what they did last year with Tua, where it's just short passes. So it's really going to be interesting. It's kind of funny that the Patriots and the Dolphins are going up against each other in Week 1. It's the battle of the new offensive schemes. Two teams that completely revamped their offenses over the spring are just seeing whatever the heck will work this Sunday.
Yeah, I hope it's actually going to be a good match. I know it's the spread's about 3.5, so I mean, you obviously give 3 to the home team, but we'll see if it actually pans out that way.
And the injury report for the Patriots for this game: 5 questionable players. Ty Montgomery with a knee injury. Obviously, he suffered what looked like a gruesome injury against the Raiders in the final preseason game a couple weeks ago. He ended up getting carted off, but somehow, some way, he's questionable at this point. Jacoby Myers is questionable with a knee injury. Isaiah Wynn is questionable with a back injury, but Wynn said to the press or to the media a couple days ago that he's going to play. I don't know if Belichick liked him saying that, but I mean, we can expect Wynn to play. Sean Wade, is it Sean Wade or Dean Wade? It's the safety. He has an ankle injury. Mm-hmm. He's questionable. And Joshua Bledsoe is also questionable with a groin injury. So, yeah, as I said, Wynn's expected to play. I think we disagreed on this before we hopped on the call, but I don't think Montgomery's going to play. I think we're going to take it easy with them. I'm shocked he's progressed this much, but I don't think Montgomery's going to play. And with Myers and the others, you just don't know. But I think most of these guys are going to. I would say 4 of the 5 of these guys will be available tomorrow.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I feel like with Jacoby Myers, I feel like he should push himself to play. But if he doesn't, you're definitely going to have your receiver step up because you only have really three guys left. I mean, you have Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, and Kendrick Bourne because you already lost your rookie receiver for about half the year. And now if you lose him for Jacoby Myers for the first game, it's kind of like putting your receivers in a bad position of now you have to really show me what you got, essentially. And hopefully the tight ends step up. I'm guessing hopefully Jonnu Smith will have a better outcome for the season than he did last year and hopefully get more targets. I feel like this game will definitely help him progress in that season.
Yes, so we'll definitely get into all of that in a bit. From some news from the practice squad is that wide receiver Lil Jordan Humphrey and linebacker Harvey Lange were elevated to the 53-man roster. This Humphrey news could mean that Myers or Montgomery won't play tomorrow, and Humphrey will either get some reps maybe offensively with the offense, or he'll just get reps on special teams. But that's something definitely to look out for. Obviously, Humphrey had a good showing against Carolina in the preseason with that great special teams play. So yeah, we'll just really have to see what happens. I think everyone that's a key member of the team that needs to be available tomorrow will be available, but we'll find out right before game time who plays and who doesn't. So now we're going to talk about playing against Tua Tagovailoa. Tua was the quarterback at Alabama, drafted by Miami. A lot of hate on Tua. Seems like a great guy. I don't think any of the hate is personal. Is personal. I hope it's not personal. But what are your takeaways on Tua? Because I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. I know that that's a flaming hot take for whatever reason, but I think him being with a coach like Mike McDaniel is just going to, make him a lot better. And he's kind of like a game manager quarterback in the sense like of a Jimmy Garoppolo or such, where he can be a little bit mobile, he can get the ball out. Obviously, there's a lot left to be desired with his deep ball, but I think he's only going to get better, and I think Tua is a solid quarterback for the time being. I think this year is going to be instrumental in proving if he can be a franchise quarterback or not. But all I'm saying is I don't really understand the Tua hate personally.
No, yeah, this is definitely a make or break year for him because there are some pretty good quarterbacks in the draft next year. And with the amount of picks that they have, I believe they have 2 first-round picks. They could easily trade up or trade with some other team to get another quarterback if they need to. But yeah, this is definitely a make or break year for him. But definitely he's going to gain some confidence with Tyreek Hill speaking on his behalf, saying that he's like the most accurate quarterback. And he's essentially better than Patrick Mahomes in every way, even though in that last preseason game against the Eagles, he basically underthrew Tyreek Hill for a 50-yard reception. But also with the new coach, I feel like with the old coach, he was more on the defensive side of the ball, but now with the new coach, he's more on the offensive side. So it will definitely give him more confidence on what he can do inside and outside of the pocket and make quicker decisions. But, other than that, I mean, they just voted him as the captain for the team, which honestly, you should get that if you're the quarterback, because if you don't, that would be sort of an indication that you're not, a worthy enough quarterback to, lead the offense, I would say. But other than that, this is definitely a make or break year for him.
Just so our friend here can say that I acknowledge his comment. There we go. We will not be talking about this, though, being the Patriots topics to discuss. Yeah, so I watched some film earlier of Tua, just did a scouting report on him. I watched the games he played against the Pats last year. I watched his preseason footage. Obviously, that throw to Tyreek definitely stood out. He underthrew him a bit, but I mean, that's par for the course in the sense that people always knew coming in that his deep ball, there's a lot left to be desired. That's still a work in progress, but Tua loves the short and intermediate passes. That's what we've seen so far for him in his career. He has people on offense like Waddle and Mike Gesicki at tight end to bail him out with jump ball throws or quick throws. Now you add Tyreek Hill to the mix. I mean, that's just a great target for Tua, who can do things in the short game, the deep game. You can just throw a wide receiver screen to him, and he can just run and get like 30 yards after the catch. So this Miami offense, along with Tua, has the chance to be very explosive. What I think the Patriots can do to combat that, though, is Tua is impressive when he leaves the pocket. A lot of the highlights I saw for him being great were when he was just standing still in the pocket and getting the ball out either quickly or just with the short passes, and he's very accurate with that. But he struggled, the few times he struggled in the footage I saw, he had to leave the pocket and scramble, and that's when he makes his worst decisions. It wasn't every time, but it was a few times, and that stood out to me. So I think if the Patriots want to have success in shutting down Tua, or at least just forcing him to struggle a bit, we have to force him out of the pocket and kind of make, timely decisions or panic decisions, if you want to call it, because once he leaves that pocket, it seems to get a lot tougher for him. He has had a lot of success too this season so far in the preseason when he rolls out to his left in the pocket because that's his dominant side as he's left-handed. So that could obviously pose some issues. But if you do whatever you can to get Tua out of the pocket, I think that's really just all the Pats have to hope for. It's also kind of ironic that we have to force him out of the pocket in order to be successful because our defense has notoriously struggled in recent years against mobile quarterbacks like the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allens of the world. But I think in order to keep Tua from completely taking over this game or getting in a groove and getting other people to take over this game, like the Waddles and the Tyreek Hills of the world, we need to get him out of the pocket and force him to throw on the run.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like if you put enough pressure on him, he'll eventually crack because I think their scheme is trying to be like these little quick hitters. But when it comes to the vertical route, I feel like he sometimes has to hesitate on whether to throw it or not because either he has too much pressure in his face or he just completely just throws it as like a wild guess, and hopefully Tyreek Hill can just make a spectacular catch. But we'll see what happens. I think we should have a lot of blitzing because I feel like that would definitely compensate on how quick he gets the ball out to these receivers. So we just have to see how that goes.
That's what I was just going to ask you. So you think we should blitz a bit? Because I agree with that. I think we should blitz a decent amount. And this kind of fizzles into my next point, but I just get really worried that if we blitz too much, then you're risking leaving Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle one-on-one, and they're gonna make you pay.
You got to have. I think you have to have the single high safety
Definitely.
Always watching out for either Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, but mostly on Tyreek Hill because I know Jalen Waddle's good. This is just his second year. I believe Jonathan Jones is probably going to be the guy who's going to cover him, Jalen Waddle, and have Jalen Mills be on Tyreek Hill, but you're going to have Devin McCourty be like the support system, I feel like, because which is an okay, type of scenario, but we'll definitely have to watch out for that because definitely Cedric Wilson is kind of dangerous in the slot, and those linebackers are not as fast as him, so we're going to have to watch out for that as well.
Yeah, and I think I go back to the game last year where I believe Tua threw that pick in the fourth quarter that either J.C. Jackson or McCourty got. That was when we blitzed Tua, if I remember correctly, and you force him out of the pocket. Love Tua, but if you force him out of the pocket on a blitz, like he's going to panic and he's just going to throw it up and hope for the best. It's kind of like the Joe Flacco special. Mm-hmm. So I think we just need to do that, and not all the time because it's very, very dangerous to do that if you blitz too many people and you leave these guys one-on-one, like I said. But if we just blitz a healthy amount of times, like maybe on third downs, just so we can get off the field, I'm all for it. So that's something I think to keep in mind, definitely. According to patspulpit.com, it seems like Jonathan Jones will be the one to cover Tyreek Hill. And what we've been doing when we face Tyreek Hill, the Patriots, that is, in the last few matchups, is have McCourty, as you said, shadow him at safety. Tyreek Hill pretty much torched the Patriots early in his career, but once we finally did switched up our defensive scheme against him to have McCourty just basically follow him from afar, we've kind of shut him down. His last couple of games, I think he has like 93 yards total or something like that. So nothing too flashy. So I think Belichick will trust Jonathan Jones in some situations to cover Tyreek Hill one-on-one. Not every situation for sure, because you're not going to be able to get away with that. But I think we can do a good job of containing Tyreek, hopefully. You just never know, though, because Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, what definitely helped, though, was in the Super Bowl 55, all the Bucks did was basically cover 2 and just had 4 linemen up there, and they just got to him every time. Obviously, that's not going to be the case there, but it definitely showed the rest of the league that there is an answer to Tyreek Hill in a matter of way. But in addition to that, I feel like we need to just get the ball rolling as soon as we can, because we gotta find a way to always be after him, once he gets out of the pocket. Because I believe it was the first game at home. I don't know if you mentioned this one, when Matthew Judon sacked him, but he already threw the ball, and I believe it was Adrian Phillips who came up with the interception there.
Oh, okay. It was Phillips.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. That was a good play for us. I also think that. Do you think that the rookies, Marcus Jones and Jonathan Jones, Jonathan Jones, I believe,
It's a different Jones.
or
There's like
different
so
Jones?
Marcus Jones and another Jones.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, should be out there potentially, because I know they're young. They got good enough speed. Or you think you should just wait for maybe a better game for them?
So that's a great question. Basically, and this goes off again what I read in an article on patspulpit.com. Shout out to them. They're great at what they do. They said Jalen Mills is going to be the one to cover Waddle. And Jalen Mills, as we know from last year, bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, had some great games, had some not so great games. And with a guy like Waddle, we'll see how that goes. Waddle obviously had a fantastic rookie year. He's a guy like a Devontae Parker now for us this year who can get the jump balls for you and just outmuscle the corners. I don't know if they'll pick on him in this matchup. And you'd think he can keep up with them and, hold him to a respectable amount. You hope Jalen Mills can do that. You hope you get a good game from him, not one of these bad games. But funnily into what you were saying, they did mention where if Waddle, if Jalen Mills struggles, we might bring in Jones. Marcus Jones? Is that the corner?
I believe so. The other one is Jack Jones. He was more of like the punt returner, I believe.
That's right. So if Jalen Mills happens to struggle, maybe we go to Marcus Jones, because I know Belichick was very, very impressed with all the Joneses.
I think he was really well with the slot as well. So he could be covering Cedric Wilson a lot, if that's the case.
But how do you feel about Jalen Mills on Waddle? How do you feel about that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a coin flip sometimes, because as we saw in the last season, there were some plays that he knew when it was coming to him. I think there was like one game against the Jets, he had like a missed tackle. They did like a little screen, and he had a couple missed tackles over there, and that could definitely cost us, because once you let those guys have an open lane, they can run. They can just get 10, 15 yards out of that, and that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, tackling is definitely going to be a big issue for the Patriots, or a big point of emphasis for the Patriots. It was a big problem last year, honestly, for the Patriots when they were at their worst on defense. The tackling was one of the main culprits. But bringing down guys like the shifty Tyreek Hill, I mean, we saw it all these years in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like, it was like he was playing Madden out there. As soon as he catches it, he does a back juke, then he shoots to the side, then he gets an extra 5 to 10 yards. Good luck bringing down someone like Waddle by yourself with his frame. I mean, just, if they make the catch, they make the catch, but we got to limit the yak. And that's just, I'm preaching to the choir that that's football common sense, but we can't let Miami get away with anything.
It would be interesting if Tyreek Hill was the punt returner, because I do believe he was a solid punt returner. I think it was like his first 3 years in the league, a couple years in the league, I think. And then he became a true like wide receiver, number one wide receiver. So
that could be a game changer. That could be a game changer. I hope Miami does not do that. But
yeah,
some key matchups for the Patriots defense versus the Miami offense. This is a friend of the podcast, Joe. This is what he wanted me to mention. His first one, Matt Judon, edge defender, edge pass rusher for the Patriots versus the Dolphins right tackle, Austin Jackson. obviously. And the second one I'll just say right now, actually, is Christian Barmore versus who's the nose tackle versus the Dolphins center Connor Williams. Much like the Patriots, the Dolphins offensive line is not a strong suit at all. Obviously, they brought in Teron Armstead, and he's a good player. Definitely upgrade for them for sure. But these guys right here, Judon Barmore, have a chance to feast on the other parts of the Dolphins offensive line. And if they can get the best of them and you get to Tua, sack him, force him out of the pocket, honestly, the only good things are going to happen if we can get the pass rush going.
Yeah, I hope to see a lot of them, definitely get a lot of pressure in their face. I do believe that Barmore is definitely going to be a star, that hidden gem in this defense, because him and Judon are going to be on the same page probably the whole year.
And it's another revenge game for Devon Godshaw. He just got the bag this offseason for Bill Belichick. Played all last year, had a solid season for New England. I think we definitely have a chance to disrupt the passing game for sure with our pass rush, because our front four is pretty solid with Judon, Barmore, Godshaw, and I mean, Detroit is serviceable. I'll give him that. Lawrence Guy's depth. I think we can make some noise there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I feel like a good decision was definitely getting some younger and faster linebackers with like Mac Wilson.
Definitely.
So that was definitely a plus. I feel like he'll definitely benefit to this offense. I mean, this defense against this offense.
Yeah, and obviously, you hope Josh Uche takes another step forward. Belichick's been high on him since he drafted him in 2020. Jawan Bentley has also caught Belichick's eye since he came up in 2018. And Belichick said that the safety room is probably the strongest room on the team, or the one that he feels the most confident in, with McCourty, 12-year veteran, Kyle Duggar, who's been a staple in there since we drafted in 2020, a nice little addition in the 4th or 5th round. Adrian Phillips is a great free agent pickup. Jarrell Peppers and Bledsoe add depth. And yeah, I think the secondary is in okay shape, honestly. So we're going to shift gears now and talk about the Patriots defense versus the Miami offense, or the Patriots offense versus Miami defense. My apologies. Miami loves to bring the heat on defense, pun intended. They have guys like Emmanuel Ogbah up front, who in his first 2 seasons has 18 sacks, 9 each season, 2020 and 2021. So this is going to be a pretty big issue, honestly, for the Patriots, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. The Dolphins are going to look to take advantage of a weaker Patriots offensive line. We traded away Shaq Mason this offseason. We drafted Cole Strange, which everyone thought at the time was strange. I'm just being very punny right now. But this is a much weaker offensive line. We lost Ted Karras as well this offseason. There's great players as part of this offensive group. Obviously, David Andrews. Not really too much else to say about him other than he's just amazing. Michael Onwenu's great. Trent Brown, solid. But Isaiah Wynn and Cole Strange haven't had the best of preseasons. And that's figure that's going to fizzle into the regular season. So this Patriots offensive line situation is definitely going to be having something that everyone's going to have to monitor, not only just for this game, but for the whole 18 weeks this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like with the Patriots team in general, you got to have a lot more confidence in what you're doing. This whole new offensive scheme is definitely driving a wedge into a lot of players, and they're, I feel like, having a lot more egos against and questioning against the coaching abilities, because I feel like Trent Brown was definitely one that stood out with like having some difficulties with this new scheme, since he's a lot bigger, because Belichick was definitely like more of like body instead of like bigger, stronger and heavier instead of like more mobile, I would say. But it's Mac Jones. He's the captain now. He'll hopefully rile this team up and hopefully we can have a good season.
And another thing is, I do think that the Dolphins are going to blitz a ton. They were one of the biggest blitzing teams last year. I think that's going to happen again. And this just goes back to the main point where they know that the Patriots' offensive line is weaker than it was last year, definitely weaker than it has been in recent years. Why not just throw the pressure at Mac? Because that's what they did a lot last year in the matchups. They just kept throwing pressure at Mac. And he got hit a lot in those games, man. So
he also threw a pick six. I believe it was to Xavier Howard, I think.
Yeah, Patriots killer.
Yeah, so I believe re-signed him or extended his contract. So he's definitely one to look out for as well.
Yeah, so Xavier Howard, that was my next point too. He's the real deal, and he's irritated the Pats really since he came into the league. He's going to match up against Devontae Parker, and I honestly think that's going to be a pretty exciting matchup. Personally, I think they both are going to give each other a handful. I don't really know if either side's going to get the best of the other, but I think that's going to be just a fun matchup from a football fan perspective to look out for. But the Dolphins are without Byron Jones the first 4 games alongside Howard. He is physically unable to perform less. So Nick Needham is going to match up against Jacoby Myers. And honestly, this just screams Bill Belichick picking on an inexperienced corner. And I can see, honestly, Jacoby Myers being a main focal point of the offense for the Patriots early and maybe throughout the whole game. But I think the Patriots are going in knowing that Myers is going to be against a more inexperienced corner. And let's feed him the ball and see what he can do, and if he gets up to the challenge or not.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like with this Week 1 matchup, I feel like if they do want to try anything new, I feel like they should actually go back to what they were good at with the 2 tight end scheme, because in the regular season they definitely didn't use Jonnu Smith as much as they should have. And they only kind of use Hunter Henry as like the main tight end. But with this, if Jacoby Myers can't play, I feel like they should have Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Devontae Parker, and Kendrick Bourne. I don't know. I think you can have 3 receivers and 2 tight ends, right? Yeah. So, and then Nelson Aguilar as well. So that would be definitely a benefit to this offense.
And what do you make of this whole situation with Kendrick Bourne? Because he's in the doghouse with Belichick. He had a couple incidents this preseason where in one of the practices he had the wrong pads, and the ref at the practice sent him back to the locker room to get some new pads, and Belichick chewed him out for that. And of course, he was involved in a fight with the Panthers in those joint practices this preseason. So Bourne is listed as the 4th wideout on the depth chart here. Do you think like this is like going to be a long-term issue? Like, is Bourne really in the doghouse for a while? And do you think that's a good thing for the Pats, or do you think that's a bad thing? Do you think we can work through this? Like, what do you make of this whole Bourne situation?
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, think about it. They benched Malcolm Butler in Super Bowl 52 for something that he may or may have not, aggravated Belichick as much, but he can hold a grudge. He's 70 years old. He's just has he's in his own way sometimes, and I feel like it's just gonna hurt him at sometimes. But I don't believe with that fight that was all his fault, because I believe there was Panthers that definitely agitated the Pats a lot more. And they did eject 2 Panthers that practice, so it wasn't all us. But with the whole pads thing, I mean, come on, like you can't blame the guy for just having different pads, unless it's like, oh, you have like a defensive tackles like pads that are like 2 sizes too big for you or something like that. That's like, it's not. I don't think it's just that big of a deal. Definitely, Mac Jones will definitely, talk to him. He'll, get a better connection. And, they went to Florida to get better, connection, receiving connections and all that stuff. So Well, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, remember the time that Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne were laughing with Belichick on the side? I mean,
I
that's the
just saw
first.
that clip today.
I mean, that's the first time I ever saw that guy have any sort of emotion or any sort of joy other than the Super Bowls. But no, I don't think this should be anything to worry about.
Just a very bold move by Bill because you can get away with all this, all these holding these grudges and being so strict when you win because he's 8-time Super Bowl champion. He's won 6 titles with us, brought us to 9 Super Bowls, countless AFC championships, countless AFC East division titles. But when you aren't winning and when you struggle or just building this thing back up, which is what the Patriots have been doing the last couple of years, I got to question it a little bit because we're trying to win, we're trying to get back to where we once were, and that's obviously not going to happen overnight. But you're benching someone who just gave you 700 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. I just think it's a bold move. I don't swing either way, but I hope it works out for you, Bill. That's all I'll say. But,
I mean, he was his number one receiver last year, so I don't know why you'd want to bench him. But I do believe Devontae Parker will emerge as the number one receiver, followed by Kendrick Bourne. And then Jacoby Myers is always just that third down pass catcher. So we'll see. I hope Tyquan Thornton definitely comes back in the midseason, having that speed that we all know that he can produce on the field. So we'll see about that.
and I just want to take another moment to just give Mac Jones his flowers. He's pretty solid as a rookie. Did a good job, especially in these Miami games that I watched from last year, making something out of nothing. He's a great pocket passer.
Mhm.
Obviously, he had some literal rookie mistakes last year. He wasn't perfect, but he's everything the Patriots honestly could have asked for last year. And I think he's setting up. We'll see how he does with this new offense. People are worried that this is going to ruin Mac Jones' development, and he's not going to take kindly to this new scheme, or he's not going to perform as well with this new scheme. But we'll just have to see what happens. I do think this year that we could see Mac Jones throw deep more because not only does he have Aguilar, but as you said and as we've talked about, he also has Devontae Parker now. So that's something I think would be interesting. But if he has no time to throw, like we saw this preseason, then the Patriots are going to be in a lot of trouble because you're not only risking losing games by not giving your quarterback any time to throw. This isn't Tom Brady anymore, your buddy who can get the ball out in 1 second or less. This is Mac Jones. You need time to throw, and if you're risking not only losing games by not giving him time to throw, but you're also risking getting a promising young kid injured.
Yeah, you definitely got to give the kid enough time to actually throw it. I feel like he was always confident in the shotgun, and then we always did that, and he always seemed to have a lot more confidence. And he also did a really great job at the pump fakes, to the running backs. So that was definitely good. I just hope this offensive line isn't like the Jets or the Bengals last year, because that was because look at Zach Wilson now. Now he's injured again. I mean, he got injured multiple times last year with his offensive line. So I don't want that to happen because Mac Jones is definitely can be a top 15 quarterback if he has the right tools and right coaching and right receivers. But I mean, he was definitely the runner-up for Rookie of the Year. If Jamar Chase didn't have a spectacular year like he did, he definitely would have won the Rookie of the Year. He went to the Pro Bowl. I mean, his first year. You got to give him credit for that. So
He hit the gritty too. Some people might say it was better than mine. Some may not. But and then I'll take another second to hype up Devontae Parker too, because I'm really excited for Devontae Parker. We got him for basically nothing. I think we gave up a 5th-round pick. But
is this his last year on his contract?
Yep. So this is last year in his contract. He's making around $9 million. But I just think he's a guy who late in the game, if say that the other team scores a touchdown and get ahead late, and the first couple of plays of the offensive drive, the Pats can't do anything. Say that's 3rd down and 10. Just throw it up to Devontae Parker and he'll come down with it because he's like the king of the jump balls.
Yeah, that was a nice fade that Mac gave him during the Raiders game. I feel
Yep.
like that should have been a touchdown because I don't think that was offensive pass interference. I think they were both within 5 yards, and you can always hand fight within 5 yards, and that was, you know, it was a great catch though. It was. So I hope we can see a lot of that.
And it reminds me, having Devontae Parker on this offense reminds me, and I'm not saying he is this player, so before anyone watches this video, do not flame me for this. Do not clip this and say I'm saying that this is this
I
person.
think I might know what you're gonna say. Yeah,
Devontae Parker reminds me of Randy Moss.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking him. I was thinking he's half of what DK Metcalf is. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, that's probably a more favorable comparison in the NFL community than what I said.
Yeah, because I feel like I don't think he's as fast as DK Metcalf. He's definitely got the size like him, but he's not as physical as DK Metcalf can be. So that's why I think he's half of what he is.
just having him in this offense just gives flashbacks to 2007 through 2010 with
Mhm.
Brady throwing it up to Moss. Moss getting the jump balls, Moss just being able to run down the field, have three defenders trailing behind him, just make it look easy. That's just what it reminds me. But no, I'm not saying Devontae Parker is Randy Moss. They are not even close. But it's just exciting because I just think that the sky's the limit for Devontae Parker in this offense. As weird as it sounds, because Devontae Parker is more of a deep threat and like a jump ball guy, and the Patriots offense has been built for years and years with Brady and a little bit now after Brady with Jones and Newton on just like the short and intermediate passes. But I hope Devontae Parker is a game changer this year.
Yeah, because with I feel like he's more of a goal line threat because I remember Kendrick Bourne was always that guy, that one receiver on the side debating, and they were debating whether to do like a fade or just a run. I feel like Devontae Parker will definitely be that guy.
Oh, definitely. I'm already getting excited thinking about Mac Jones throwing fades into the end zone about Devontae Parker.
Yeah, because Brady to Mike Evans every time is like, it's just a perfect match. It's like
Definitely.
even when he's like 5-6 yards out, he still does like a perfect ball. And I'm not comparing Mac Jones to Tom Brady. I know on like First Take, there's Wilds is always saying the baby goat. I feel like he's got to earn his stripes, a little more. But we'll see.
Yeah, so now we'll just take a quick second to talk about the Patriots' new offensive scheme. They're trying to replicate what the 49ers and Rams have done with the zone running to the outside. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what the motive was behind just scrapping up the offense. Well, I think I do because McDaniels left. So offensive coordinator, over a decade leaves. You got to start from scratch. But I don't know how successful Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson are going to be with these outside zone schemes because their success comes from the power and the gap running schemes, courtesy of TatsPulpit.com. In other words, Stevenson and Harris did great last year when we just ran it down the throat of the defense. New England hasn't got much going with the zone running this preseason so far, which is another concerning thing. But every year it seems like they always have success with the halfback tosses and all that stuff once you throw that play in once in a while. So it's just going to be interesting to see how the run game does this year, honestly, for me too, as a Patriots fan.
No, yeah, the 49ers definitely have a good scheme for offense. And the problem is that we just don't have the correct guys for it. Because, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like our guys are just meant for just more of like a passing in the pocket rather than like having them be more mobile and having like more of like outside schemes because that's like it's just not in their nature. They're just not used to it. It's something brand new. You just don't know what's going to happen. As we can see, during the preseason, what's happening is that they're just not getting it. I feel like we'll see in week one, he'll definitely hide it a lot. Belichick will definitely hide a lot of what they're trying to do to make it seem like, oh, okay, this scheme is actually working, but instead it's actually what they've been doing for the past 20 years. So we'll see what happens. We'll see.
One thing that I have been excited about or pleased about this preseason or this training camp, summer, whatever you want to call it, that I've seen from the Patriots offense is Nelson Aguilar getting more involved in the offense. He had a bit of a down year last year, along with John Smith, as you talked about, not really contributing as much as we thought with the money we're paying him. But Aguilar is kind of following in the Jacoby Myers method, where he's not just running deep routes. The Patriots are now having Nelson Aguilar run intermediate routes and short routes, where he runs through the slot and tries to get those yards after catch. So I think if Aguilar can just keep doing that, I think there's a high chance that he can be well involved in the offense this year. There's a lot of hype around him too. Contract year for him as well. Didn't live up to the money last year. You hope he does this year. But, all signs point to him being very impressive so far this preseason.
Yeah, I feel like either way, this is his year, because even if he does do better than last year, I feel like the Pats are in a position that we just can't find anyone else for receivers, like any free agents that are going to be within their budget. And picking another wide receiver in the draft is definitely going to question a lot about Bill Belichick being the GM. Because, him and receivers are just never in his cards.
Harry.
Just never. He's just never good at picking them, except for just Julian Edelman. That was the only one that he.
With. Malcolm Mitchell was going to be good if he didn't get hurt.
That is true.
But he got hurt.
Did we draft Josh Gordon or?
No, so we traded for him from Cleveland.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking, did we draft him? But I'm like, no, never mind. But no, N'Keal Harry was a bust. Malcolm Mitchell was definitely in the running of being a good receiver, but if you're not up to the standards of Julian Edelman, I feel like then it's what are you doing? Because I can't think of any receivers next year for free agency that are going to be well worth the money. So.
And I know there's a lot of questions about the Patriots receiver run being terrible and don't be a homer. Someone in the comments last week that we both know said, I'll say it, Trevor. I don't want to give him full clout, so I'm not going to say his full name, but he said the receiver room is not as good as we're making it out to be. Don't kid yourself. The receiver room for the Patriots has never been full of any household names, minus a Randy Moss. Brandon Cooks, when we traded for him, was amazing, but that was only a year. It's always just been players who fit the scheme. Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, most recently, Chris Hogan. You don't need household names in the receiver room for the Patriots. It could be anyone. We've done a great job at turning people into good players in our system, getting them good contracts. You just need to fit our system, and we'll make it work. It's never been about what can the wide receivers do for the quarterback. It's always what can the quarterback do for the wide receivers.
I feel like we definitely compensated a little bit due to the tight end situation, because I feel like we were always tight end heavy. Because think about it, we drafted 2 tight ends a couple years ago, and now they're on the practice squad, and one I think left. So
Ozzy and I think Ozzy and Dalton Keene aren't with the Pats anymore. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but we paid a lot of money for these tight ends, John Smith and Hunter Henry, and I feel like we've been doing this scheme for so long that it's worked so well that we didn't need high-class receivers. We just needed the people to do their job, as Belichick says.
And I think Hunter Henry, if Mac Jones is given time to throw the ball tomorrow, Hunter Henry could be in for a big game against Miami. If Miami blitzes like they do ever so often, especially last year, the deeper Henry gets in the secondary in Miami, I think he has a higher chance of being able to just use his build to his advantage and corral the balls for catches. So as long as Mac Jones can get the ball to him, I think Hunter Henry can have a pretty good game tomorrow.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I feel like him, Devontae Parker, and Kendrick Bourne are going to be probably the stars for this week. Because if Jacoby Myers is out, then Nelson Aguilar can be like a filler, but then our run game has to be really great in order to have that work together. I feel like Stevenson is definitely going to have a bigger role. He's going to be the third down back, I believe, because Damian Harris is definitely the first and second down back. But since we don't have James White, then Stevenson is going to have to fill in that gap. Did they have Strong as their third back or fourth back for the Pats, or is it? Because I know
So
Kevin Harris is definitely on the practice squad.
yeah, so on the depth chart, it's Ty Montgomery for third, but I again imagining he doesn't play tomorrow. Bureau Strong is the next man up
Yeah,
after that.
so we'll see.
Yeah, I think Hunter Henry worth the money last year. I also forgot to mention he's a red zone threat, so he had a lot of touchdowns in the red zone last year, which is a pleasant surprise. Hope that continues this year. And finally, we'll talk about Jonnu Smith. We talked about him earlier, but I just hope he can begin this campaign on the right foot. Yeah, there's just so much you can do with him because it almost kind of reminds me of what we did with Marty Bennett back in the day, where you could do end arounds, like you could rush the ball with him because he's an athletic tight end. He's like an undersized but athletic tight end. He's not undersized enough to be a wide receiver, but he's not like the biggest tight end you've ever seen. So he's just very versatile and explosive. And I hope we unlock that this year. But I think Jonnu can run the ball a little bit if you want to. And he just brings an element to the short pass game. So he doesn't have to run down the field for you in the vertical route. But you can throw the ball then 5 yards out, and then he can just run for 20 yards. So I hope we unlock him a bit more this year. And, I think yards after catch can just be a big part of his game because in the plays that he did make for us last year, yards after catch is a huge, huge factor in his productivity.
I feel like he's going to be the main tight end for like blocking because what they should do with him is since we don't really have a fullback position, he should be in the place of that fullback position because I think they would have Taylor probably as like their fullback position, but I know he's on the practice squad, so I don't think they would have him there. But that would definitely help a lot if he was there.
So we're getting ready to wrap this up. But what's your prediction for how tomorrow's game is going to go? Score prediction.
Yeah, it's been changing for the past couple days. I feel like it's going to change right on the day of the game.
Sorry, real quick, you did mention this at the beginning, but let me just remind the viewers: the Patriots are underdogs by 3.5 tomorrow.
3.5. Okay. But I think it's going to be. It's probably going to be a little bigger than that. I think it's going to be 27-16.
Who's winning?
Dolphins.
So, call me a homer, but I'm saying the Patriots are going to win this game 30-27. I think both teams might struggle early with their new offenses, and this game is imperative. And if the Patriots can jump ahead early, because I feel like Miami's one of those offenses where if you let them score first, you're just going to be playing catch up for the rest of the game if they're firing on all cylinders. But I do think in this game, first game of the year, both teams are just going to be looking to dust off the cobwebs. And the first half is probably going to be a lot of sloppy football. But I think that this could be honestly one of the better games of the week. This isn't, the flashiest name on the NFL card for games this week, but I think this game could come down to like an epic fourth quarter with a lot of points scored. And I think it'll just be Mac Jones besting his college teammate Tua Tagovailoa at the end, leading a game-winning drive with Nick Folk kicking a field goal late. I don't think it'll be as time expires, but I think Nick Folk will kick a field goal late, and there will be no Miami Miracle this time. So I think the Patriots will win down in Miami for the first time since 2019, and I think they'll beat Miami for the first time in 2 years.
If the Pats score a touchdown on their first drive, I think they'll be in good position because we always kick a field goal, and it's like okay, you got points, but then it's like they score a touchdown, it's like, oh, now we got to, come back even harder.
And Joe, friend of the podcast, Joe, brought this up to me where they said, they were talking about this on the radio on 98.5, where always, especially in the first game of the season, the first 10 to 15 plays are scripted by the offense. If the Patriots need to make the most scripted plays, scoring touchdowns. So, the Patriots have always struggled when they were the better team down in Miami. What makes anyone think that this is going to be any different when the worst team down in Miami? Which, on paper, might be true. And we could be in for a tough day tomorrow, but I'm always going to stick with the Patriots. Hopefully always stick with them. Call me a homer, but Patriots 30-27. It's going to have to be a high scoring game for the Patriots.
Let's see if this new Miami strategy works. Going down there early.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel, right. Keon Crossland, a former Patriot, saying that's not going to work. He's guessing us for it. Who cares?
Well, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we switch the fish. I mean, that was another thing real quick that I didn't understand, where it's these Dolphins players, and everyone had an issue with us going down early. It's what do you want us to do? We've struggled in Miami for forever. We're literally just throwing the kitchen sink at it. I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with it. But we will hopefully let our game do the talking tomorrow. And I will be back tomorrow night after the game to recap it. That's going to do it for this episode of Invent with David. I'm your host, David. I want to thank Chris. Chris, thanks for doing this again with me.
No, thank you.
And I keep having Chris here. Patriots-related content throughout the season. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to more Patriots content, and I hope to talk about more sports too. Some sports news getting going soon. That's going to do it for us, guys. Have a good night. Go Patriots. I will talk to you tomorrow.